Developing details on Andrade El Idolo's sudden disappearance from AEW programming have now been revealed, with a new report suggesting that WWE may have sent a legal letter to All Elite Wrestling regarding a potential non-compete clause as part of Andrade's exit from World Wrestling Entertainment. We'll let you know all the details and more in this news update. Hey guys, welcome back to Wrestling News 365. Hope everyone is doing very well. As always, there are plenty of news stories to get into in the world of professional wrestling. And let's begin with this developing story that's been bubbling away over the last couple of days. And finally, we may have some answers regarding it. Now, AEW wrestler Andrade hasn't featured since his return to the promotion on the 6th anniversary of AEW Dynamite. And initially, it seemed like nobody seemed to really know why that was the case. Dave Meltzer on F4W Online discussed Don Callis' 60-second birthday segment, where two members of the Don Callis family, Konosuke Takeshita and Andrade, were absent, while Takeshita's over in Japan, where he recently won the IWGP World Heavyweight Championship. Meltzer at the time said he couldn't explain Andrade's absence. He said, quote, "I have no answers at all," replied Meltzer when asked why he hasn't been on AEW programming. Fellow host Brian Alvarez inquired about Andrade's whereabouts following his return to the promotion and mentioned that one of his upcoming matches against LA Park had been cancelled as well, with no reason given. Meltzer stated at the time that he had no clue. He claimed that those who are aware of Andrade's situation were unwilling to disclose the details to him. He said, quote, "There's people who know, but they're keeping quiet. They're not telling me, but they know," he said. "So they forced me to speculate, which I'm not going to do. As far as I know, he's still not booked for a show on Saturday in Puerto Rico. We'll find out if he does that show or not. He is challenging for the WWC Universal title down there on that day." Now, some expected Andrade to face Kenny Omega, whom he attacked following his return at the upcoming AEW Wrestle Dream pay-per-view. However, that match is not taking place. Now, a bit more of an update came courtesy of Sean Ross Sapp of Fightful Select, who said that, of course, there's been much speculation about Andrade and not many answers. Fightful say they spoke to sources that spoke to Andrade in the last week, who said he seemed in good spirits, but didn't indicate why he'd been pulled from recent shows and hadn't been on AEW television since reappearing. Things have been exceedingly quiet, as Sean Ross Sapp puts it. That the little bit of response that Fightful got was that Andrade is in fact signed to All Elite Wrestling, but that the absence was something that at least one person didn't see as AEW or Andrade's specific fault. Now, Fightful say they can't really speak to that, not knowing what it is, but Fightful say they put that report out anyway. But a big development now comes from Dave Meltzer, who said it may be a legal issue as to why that is the case. Now, as I mentioned, he left WWE, well, he was fired from WWE just over a month ago over disciplinary issues, wellness policy violation issues. Just a couple of weeks later, he returns to AEW on this October 1st episode of Dynamite. It was the 6th anniversary edition of the show. He attacked Kenny Omega, joined the Don Callis family, but he's not been seen on AEW television since then. He's not even been added to the company's official roster page either. Speaking on today's Wrestling Observer Radio, Dave Meltzer has now reported that the belief is there are potential issues over Andrade's non-compete clause. Now, typically, when WWE talent is released, they have a 90-day clause where they can continue to be paid by the company and can't work anywhere else, or it's 30 days for NXT contracts. After Andrade made his AEW return so soon after his WWE exit, the word was that he didn't have a non-compete clause attached to his departure because of the nature of his firing, but it appears that there's now more to this story. Meltzer said, quote, "What I've been hearing was that WWE sent a letter. AEW obviously believed that there was no non-compete. There were people who talked to people in WWE who also believed there was no non-compete. But WWE apparently, that's the story, they said he can't do AEW for 90 days. Now, of course, if we get any more details regarding this, we'll let you know in a future video. But what are your thoughts regarding a possible legal threat from WWE to AEW regarding a non-compete clause? And is this even enforceable if Andrade thinks he doesn't have one? Let me know your thoughts about it in the comment section below. Now, could AEW be getting their own special training facility? Well, according to Sean Ross Sapp of Fightful Select, this indeed could happen. Now, according to Sapp, there were talks of AEW doing a training center of some sort. Fightful's Sean Ross Sapp answered a Q&A question recently about the possibility of a development situation for All Elite Wrestling. Now, Fightful revealed there had been some ideas of Ace Steel possibly leading it before his departure, which of course didn't happen. AEW does have a building that has a ring that talent can access, though. There seems to have been even more of a plan for a potential training facility, though. There were talks about doing one earlier in 2025, with conversations surrounding it being in Asheville, North Carolina. As you would guess by the location, Dax Harwood, Cash Wheeler, Beth Phoenix and Adam Copeland would have helped train and refine talent there. The rumor internally was that the cost associated was eventually the deciding factor of not doing it. This was also a reason why Sting's son, Stephen Borden, was going to Asheville to train, as there were tentative plans for the training center. Of course, we get any more details on the possible developments of that project, we'll let you know in a future video. Now, of course, if you followed the news last week, you would have seen the ratings for SmackDown under this new tabulation of the Big Data Plus Nielsen panel has really decimated ratings, and Friday Night SmackDown was no different, and it looks like it was the same this past Friday too. Throughout the last 2 weeks, viewership for professional wrestling has significantly decreased after Nielsen introduced its new Big Data Plus panel model, which aims to deliver more accurate information for cable and broadcast ratings going forward. Last week, SmackDown was heavily affected by the change, as the show drew one of its lowest viewership figures in history outside of a few preempted episodes that were televised on FS1. Therefore, with this past Friday show streaming internationally on Netflix before broadcasting on the USA Network due to WWE being in Perth, Australia, it was expected that the Blue brand might reach an even lower number, with many viewers knowing results ahead of time online. Luckily for WWE, SmackDown didn't fall beneath the 1 million viewer threshold, but failed to improve its numbers following last week's disappointing totals. According to WrestleNomics and Programming Insider, SmackDown averaged 1.025 million viewers and posted a 0.22 rating in the key 18-49 demographic. When comparing both categories to the week prior, total viewership was nearly identical, while the 18-49 demo slightly decreased by 4%. Additionally, SmackDown's numbers have continued to drop over the past year since moving to the USA Network, with total viewership declining by 31% and the 18-49 demo being down by a whopping 51% since October 2024. Despite being affected by Nielsen's new system and airing earlier in the day internationally, SmackDown still managed to rank 5th for the night in the key demographic on cable. SmackDown also faced stiff competition on Friday night with the historic 15-inning MLB American League Division Series game between the Detroit Tigers and Seattle Mariners, pulling in 8 million viewers, and the WNBA Finals ranking 2nd on cable in the 18-49 demo. Moving forward, it remains to be seen if the Big Data Plus panel measurement continues to negatively affect SmackDown, or viewership will slowly improve with Survivor Series War Games on the horizon. Now, speaking of ratings, we have the ratings for last Saturday's edition of AEW Collision. Of course, it was a special homecoming theme edition of the show from Jacksonville, Florida at Daly's Place. Saturday's AEW Collision drew 286,000 viewers on TNT. That's up from the prior week's show of 226,000 viewers. That week's show was notable for being a taped and not a live show, and for Collision returning to its normal time slot after being preempted the week before to an earlier time slot due to TNT's college football commitments. It drew a 0.06 rating in the 18-49 demographic, up from the prior week's show of a 0.03 rating. The streaming viewership numbers for the simulcast on HBO Max, of course, is currently unknown. Now, AEW did not host a show for the week of October 12th due to them holding their WrestleDream 2024 event the same night. Now let's go to AEW Dynamite last night, and ahead of their AEW World Championship match this weekend at WrestleDream, Samoa Joe has some momentum. This week's episode of AEW Dynamite was headlined by a huge title match as the Ops defended their AEW World Trios Championships against LFI's trio of Rush, the Beast Mortos, and Dralistico. In the end, the Ops were able to take care of business as Samoa Joe submitted Dralistico with the Coquina Clutch. The aftermath was interesting as LFI attacked the Ops from behind while they were celebrating the victory. Hangman Adam Page, who was on commentary for the bout, hit the ring and helped the Ops fight off the group. Eventually, Page and Samoa Joe came face to face. Joe handed over the AEW World Championship to Page before leaving the ring, refusing to give fans even a small tease for AEW WrestleDream this weekend. Now, of course, one of the big matches at Wrestle Dream is for the AEW Women's World Championship, and Kris Statlander and Toni Storm show respect for each other before their big pay-per-view match. The October 15th edition of AEW Dynamite kicked off with a backstage interview segment that featured timeless Toni Storm, AEW Women's World Champion Kris Statlander, and a frustrated Renee Paquette. Storm was very open and vulnerable at first, saying that her canvas has been blank since losing the AEW Women's World Championship, and that she doesn't even know who she is without the title. Statlander seemed dismissive of Storm's concerns before saying that she has never been able to figure her out before. Statlander also stated that she is a culmination of everything that she has been before. The promo broke down from there, with Storm getting in Statlander's face and saying that the world will find out the truth at Wrestle Dream. Statlander and Storm then agreed to meet in the ring for a brief brawl. Storm quickly dropped to her knees and asked Statlander to take a free shot at her with the AEW Women's World Championship. The brawl came to an end with an interesting way as Statlander dropped to her knees and handed Storm her title belt, offering her own free shot. Storm declined the opportunity, instead kissing Statlander on the head before walking away. So, respect or mind games ahead of Wrestle Dream. Speaking of which, a trios match at Wrestle Dream has a new stipulation. During the final moments of Wednesday's AEW Collision, commentary revealed that the trios match between the Hurt Syndicate and the Demand at AEW Wrestle Dream will now have a Tornado Trio stipulation. This match comes after the Gates of Agony defeated Bobby Lashley and Shelton Benjamin on Wednesday's episode of AEW Dynamite. This will be the third trios match between the Demand and the Hurt Syndicate, with both factions currently holding one win over the other. The first match took place at AEW All Out, with the Demand picking up a surprise victory. A few weeks later, the Hurt Syndicate defeated the Demand in a street fight on AEW Dynamite. Now, before AEW Wrestle Dream this weekend, there'll be another tailgate brawl. Eddie Kingston, Hook, and two factions are set for AEW Saturday Tailgate Brawl. Fresh off his victory over the Beast Mortos at AEW Collision Homecoming, Eddie Kingston appeared alongside Hook on the October 15th edition of AEW Collision. Bragging about his victories over the group, Kingston stated that he was done with LFI and is ready to move on. Kingston turned his attention to AEW Saturday Tailgate Brawl, saying that he and Hook will be looking for a fight at the show. In addition to that, the Death Riders will be taking on the conglomeration in the build-up to AEW Wrestle Dream. Speaking of Wrestle Dream, of course, there's the big I Quit match between Jon Moxley and Darby Allin, and Moxley seemingly has gained an advantage before Wrestle Dream. Before their I Quit match, Moxley and Darby Allin met on Wednesday's edition of AEW Dynamite, but not inside the ring or in the backstage area. Instead, the rivals came face to face with each other in a prison-style visiting room where they were separated by a large glass window. Moxley was the first person to address the elephant in the room, agreeing that Darby Allin will not quit at Wrestle Dream. Moxley also stated that he didn't plan on quitting either, leaving him at a point where he is out of ideas. The former AEW World Champion made sure to tell Darby Allin that it's not too late for him to join the Death Riders. Darby responded by some interesting information, saying that he thinks about joining the group every day. Darby then explained that he can't join the fight because he doesn't respect Moxley after his treatment of Bryan Danielson. Moxley was rather annoyed with the mention of Danielson, saying that he did the best for the American Dragon. Moxley even passed off Danielson as a sacrifice, saying that the bigger picture is about the war for the future of wrestling. Darby remained confident in himself, saying that the rest of the Death Riders will stray from the path after he makes Moxley say "I quit" at Wrestle Dream. Moxley finished the conversation with some chilling words, saying that Darby Allin will be fighting ghosts and demons from his past at Wrestle Dream. Pac then proceeded to attack Darby Allin from behind, bloodying him in the process. Of course, that match taking place this weekend at Wrestle Dream. Now, an update here on Taz. It was announced on AEW Dynamite last night that Taz has undergone successful shoulder surgery. Excalibur made the announcement during the broadcast on TBS. Taz announced on October 8th, quote, "I will be having total shoulder replacement surgery in a short time. Therefore, I will be off AEW Dynamite for some time. See you soon." Taz also underwent total knee replacement surgery in 2024. It is currently unknown how long Taz will be sidelined and away from his duties as announcer on AEW Dynamite. Of course, we wish him the best in his recovery. Switching over to WWE Evolve, and we've got a brand new Evolve Women's Champion. Kendall Gray won the WWE Evolve Women's Championship at Evolve Succession. Gray defeated Callie Armstrong to win the title. The finish saw Gray counter Armstrong's spear with a power slam for the 3 count. Gray is now the second woman to ever hold the Evolve Women's Championship. Ren Sinclair and Carly Bright came out to celebrate with Gray. Armstrong made 4 successful title defenses during her reign. She became the first ever Evolve Women's Champion by defeating Kendall Gray, Kylie Ray, and Wendy Chu in a 4-way match on the May 28th episode of WWE Evolve. And finally, he's competing for the AEW World Championship this weekend, but he will likely be retired from pro wrestling when his contract expires. In April, in an interview with Chris Van Vliet, Samoa Joe stated that he didn't have a retirement date in mind, but that it would be sooner rather than later. He noted his retirement date was likely based on when his contract ends. Speaking to CBS Sports, Joe was asked if that was still the plan. He said, quote, "I'd say most likely, honestly, for a lot of reasons. Most of them are responsible. You never want to outstay your welcome in this industry. I've been fortunate that I've been involved for 25 years now. The other thing too is I think many of us want to preserve what we can of our health. It is something that is probably the most likely scenario, but it is an unusual work and unusual opportunities come up, so we'll see," he said. Asked if there's now a date in mind, Joe replied, quote, "No, not at all. It might come as a surprise. It might just be one day I'm gone and I will leave and that'll be that. I'm not as ceremonial as everybody else." Of course, Joe, as I mentioned, is set to challenge Hangman Adam Page for the AEW World Championship at WrestleDream. But there you go, guys. Latest pro wrestling news for you. Be sure to smash a like on the like button. Be sure to subscribe, bottom right-hand corner. As always, let me know your thoughts in the comment section below, and I'll speak to you again very, very soon.
Hey guys, thank you for watching, listening, streaming, or however you come across this video today. Be sure to click on the video on the right there to watch our next video, or click the bottom there to subscribe, or the bottom right hand corner. Thank you very much, and I'll speak to you again very soon.